You need to change how you're practicing slap bass. So often, the way most bass players practice slap doesn't actually help them develop the skills they need to become great slap players. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can build an effective slap bass practice routine, how you can break down and master difficult exercises so you can start to build these essential skills. But in order to do that, you first have to stop making this one huge mistake that nearly all bass players make. Because if you keep making it, it will completely undermine and sabotage every practice session and every gig you ever do. So what's the mistake? See if you can spot what I'm doing wrong. So I'm going to stand up for this. Now I'm practicing. Now I'm making a mistake. But now pretend I'm a different bass player. And you can tell I am because I'm going to put on this cool hat. So now I'm practicing. And now I'm making the mistake. So what's going on here? Now, there's a lot of debate amongst bass players about whether or not it's best to practice standing or sitting. Some people say it doesn't matter as long as the bass doesn't change height. Some people say it's better to stand or to sit. Now, there's some truth in all these opinions, but for me, they all miss a really important point. And to demonstrate what this point is, I am going to throw this spoon. So if I stood up to throw this spoon, I would probably throw it pretty far because as you can see, I can engage quite a lot of my body. I can get some power from my legs, I can engage my hips and my core, and I could throw it pretty far like that. But if I was to try and sit down and do the same thing, I wouldn't be able to throw the spoon anywhere near as far. Not because I've changed the spoon or because I've changed how I gripped it, but because my body's physical relationship to the spoon has changed. I'm actually not going to throw it, I don't want to break anything in here. Now, the way this relates to slap bass is that most bass players, when they practice at home, will be sat down. But then these same bass players will go to a gig or go to a band rehearsal and they will play stood up. Now, it doesn't really matter whether or not the bass is the same height because their body's physical relationship to the bass has completely changed. Now, this change in their body causes a bit of a domino effect in their slap technique. Because slap technique involves so many different parts of the body all working together, if one part of your body changes, then they all change as a result. You're undermining your own technique because you're not consistent. So to fix this really common mistake, you simply need to perform in the same way that you practice. It doesn't matter whether you sit or you stand, you just need to be consistent. So now you've changed that, the next thing you need to change is how you're practicing slap bass exercises. Because the way that most bass players practice them doesn't actually teach them one of the most important skills they need to know if they're going to become great slap players. So, what is wrong with how most bass players practice slap? Well, most of them practice like this, and see if you can spot the mistake. So what am I doing wrong here? Well, when you're working on a slap exercise, you've really got two problems to solve. Those two problems are coordination and timing. Timing is things like playing the right rhythms, playing the right note values, playing the right rest lengths. And coordination is things like, are you playing with the correct fingerings? Are you playing with good technique? Is your posture okay? Now, I like to think that working on these two problems is a little bit like driving a car to a town that you don't know the location of. It'd be a complete waste of time if you just got in the car, drove off as fast as you could, and went in any random direction hoping you'd somehow find the town by luck. It kind of goes without saying that to get to the town quickly, you'd need to plan a route. You'd need to coordinate a journey. And what that means for mastering difficult slap exercises is that, simply put, if your hands don't know what they are doing, they've got no hope of doing it in time. This is why you need to change the way you're practicing slap exercises to work on coordination first. So here's how to do that. First, if you have a metronome, turn it off, then start playing the exercise completely out of time. And your goal here shouldn't be to hit any of the right rhythms, but rather to nail all the coordination aspects of the exercise, to make sure you're striking the strings with good technique, to use the right fingerings on your fretting hand for the exercise. And you should keep practicing in this way until you can nail all the coordination aspects of an exercise automatically. So now is the time to reintroduce the metronome, usually at a slow tempo, something around 60 BPM, and then start to focus all your efforts on the timing aspects of an exercise. So what the rhythms are you playing the right note lengths? Are you playing the right rests? So this is how you should change the way you practice slap exercises. But now you know this, does this mean that the only thing that's left for you to do on your path to slap bass mastery is to put all your exercises in a list and just work through them like this? No. The last thing that you need to change is the way that you construct your practice routine. Because the routines that most bass players have, if they have one at all, are the biggest reason why most of them never become great slap players. So what do you need to change about your practice routine? Well, when most bass players practice, they practice like this, where they just walk into a room and kind of just sit down pretty lazily, and then, you know, before they pick up the bass, maybe they check their phone, maybe they come over to their computer and see who's online on their social media, and they do all this stuff that ends up being one massive distraction. Now, the problem isn't that their phones are in the room or that they can go on their laptop, it's that all these distractions allow them to kick the can down the road, so they can endlessly put the job off and off and off and off. Like, it's a bit like having 6 months to pay an electricity bill. You can just leave it and put it off and put it off and put it off almost endlessly. However, here's the interesting thing. If that same electricity bill arrived and they had 60 minutes to pay it, then they would pay it right away. And as mundane as this example is, it really holds the key to building an effective practice routine. Now, this is something I've actually built into the built for you practice routines that come as part of my slap bass workshop and full slap bass course. So if you want to get more info on either of those courses and have all this work done for you, there's a link in the description below. So here's what you need to do to change your practice routine. Start by writing out a list of all the exercises you want to do. Then next to each exercise, write a target BPM and a time limit for each exercise. Then simply set a timer on your phone and get to work. Hang on though. Now that you know how to practice effectively, does this now mean that you've pretty much mastered everything you need to know about slap? No. The next step for you is learning how to apply slap in your own playing in a musical setting like playing in a band. So to learn how to do that, click this video up here.